Us further updates and related updates at that. Tens of thousands took to Sydney's iconic Harbour Bridge, defying heavy rain to call for peace in Gaza and demand urgent aid deliveries. The March for Humanity comes amid growing concerns over starvation in the Gaza Strip, where nearly 60,000 people have been killed in almost 2 years of war, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Marchers carried pots and pans, symbols of hunger, as they chanted for Palestine. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange also joined the crowd. Pressure is mounting on Israel, with France, Canada and possibly the UK moving to recognise a Palestinian state. Israel denies blocking aid and blaming Hamas for the humanitarian crisis. We are once again joined by Professor Kobi Michael to discuss this further. Professor Michael, the movement seems to be growing around the world. Allies are putting sanctions on Israeli ministers, not all. Benjamin Netanyahu has a arrest warrant in the International Criminal Court. There, as we've previously discussed, calls to recognise a state of Palestine. What are your thoughts of Israel's image on not just the international stage, but its image with its Western allies, those alliances that it values so dearly?
I think that we are in a very troubling situation. We, I mean Israel. I think that we are in a very troubling situation coming to the Western or free world civilization, generally speaking, when leaders like Macron or the Prime Minister, the British Prime Minister or the Canadian Prime Minister and some others are willing to support Hamas in their way, although they say that they do not support Hamas, but they do support Hamas by appeasing the radical Islamism, the violent, barbaric Islamism, which is represented by Hamas, and by accepting and internalizing and adopting the Hamas narrative. And you mentioned the Ministry of Health, which is Hamas, okay, in the Gaza Strip, and the number of 60,000 fatalities. And even if we accept these numbers, even if we accept these numbers, we have to ask ourselves some questions. First, how many of these 60,000 are Hamas operatives? How many of these 60,000 were killed by Hamas or by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad? How many of them are natural death, because they do not distinguish between natural death and fatalities from the war? And some other questions if you want, and then you will reach to a much smaller numbers with regard to civilian fatalities. And as John Spencer said, not Kobi Michael, but John Spencer said that the IDF eventually set a golden standard with regard to collateral damage in comparison to any war and to any Western army.
Professor Michael, let's move back to Israel's image. Let's move back from the battlefield and talk about Israel's image. How do you think diplomatically that Israel is doing right now in the Western world? Do you see Israel's? How do you think Israel is working its PR campaign? And what are your thoughts on how it will recover its image? Certainly, this war has put a dent in that. As we've said previously, that these Western allies are slowly signaling worry, mainly at the way that Israel is handling this war. And how do you think Israel could have done better, can possibly recover from what's going on right now on the public image front?
I think that this is a very significant, substantial, essential challenge that Israel has to tackle. Eventually, this is the 8th or the 9th front that Israel fights. I think that we still do not do what we have to do with regard to all the idea or all the world of cognitive war or consciousness war. But I think that things will be improved once the war will be ended in the Gaza Strip. But it is a very severe situation. It is a very troubling issue. And unfortunately, this is something that brings or creates a very heavy burden on the Israeli shoulders when the war is not ended yet. I think that once the war will be ended and Israel will accomplish the defeat of Hamas and will accomplish what should be accomplished in Iran, things will be calmer. And I think that in a historical retrospective, the West or the free world will thank Israel for remaining and being the last fourth of this civilization in front of the barbaric, murderous attack or invasion of Hamas and what Hamas represents.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Michael, for joining us on the programme. Pleasure to get your insight on that story.